This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There we go. All right. We are ready to rock in our KSDT Miami Dolphins and NFL report with the man, the myth, the legend that is Cameron Wolfe. How you doing, Cam? You feeling good?
I'm good, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, baby. I'm not looking as good as Tua looks, but I'm feeling good. Was he looking good to you, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I got to see what was that, Tuesday for OTAs, and everything was looking smooth. Look, I try not to overreact because it's May. I had guys asking me about UDFAs and does this UDFA look great? I'm like, I don't know, it's May. But look, Tua threw a lot of really nice passes. I know everybody overreacted by the video, but I saw him throw some deep balls out there. They look good. I'm not gonna go through any big conclusions like this guy looks so much differently, but I do think that he looked good to me. I was really impressed by how they were using Hill and Waddle and just kind of their explosiveness in the open field. And, it looked like Tua started to have some chemistry with them already. So, yeah, I think there's positives from, early OTAs. It looks like he's happy. Every video I see him in, he's smiling, moving around, having a good vibe. So yeah, I think there was a lot of positives to take out of the one OTA we saw, and I'm excited to see it again next week and how they kind of progress together.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if these two can. I mean, listen, I think the chemistry will be fine when it's all said and done. It really comes down to the offensive line and the running game. I think the passing game is going to really work, but it really comes down to the line and the running game. If they don't have that going, it's just going to be impossible to be the kind of offense you want to be without being able to control things on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. The run game is going to be huge. Like, it was funny seeing Sony Michel running around with that Ricky Williams 34. I'm going to forget Malcolm Brown wore that jersey. I'm just going to pretend like Sony Michel's the first guy to wear it since since Ricky Williams. But it was, it starts to have you imagining if you have a Sony Michel who's healthy, if you got a Chase Edmonds who's healthy, if you get Raheem Mostert healthy by week 1, which is their goal, then you got a nice trio of running backs with different skill sets and probably the most talented backfield they've had since Jay Ajayi was out here. So I think that would be a big boost for the Dolphins, for Tua, going along with all those big receiving weapons we've talked about. So I think there's a lot of optimism. Like, just from a talent perspective, this Dolphins offense is more talented than any offense I've covered since I've been here, and I've been here since 2017. So I think that you should look at it strictly from that basis. That alone gets me excited because I've watched a lot of bad offenses, and I'm ready to see some good offense. Trust me, I'm a defense guy like everybody else. I love defense, but offense is what brings people to the seats. And so we all need an exciting offense, and I think it's time to see it, whether it's the running game, whether it's deep balls or intermediate passes to Tyreek or Waddle, whether it's Tua taking that next step, regardless of what it all looks like. I think that if the Dolphins are more fun to watch, then everybody wins.
I was talking about this. I forgot if it was with Omar. No, it might have been with Poupart. The Lynn Bowden thing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of find it to be a little disturbing for the kid, unfortunately, because you're this young and you missed out last year with a hamstring, and now I hear you're dealing with another hamstring. And I'm thinking, I when it's Kyle Lowry, and you got years on you, and you're a little overweight, and all that, I can understand that. If you're Lynn Bowden, I'm like, yo, dude, you better get your body straight, bro, because you got no shot at making this team. You're already a fringe guy as it is, and he's a guy that I'm sure you get the same crap from a lot of our Dolphin fans. A lot of people like this kid. A lot of us love his skill set and all of that, and we want to see him. But man, I gotta say, this is disturbing when you hear the coach talk about, he's trying to get through this injury now. I'm like, yo, this is Lynn Bowden Jr. Dude, you should be ready like a shark in the waiting right now to take somebody's job. not trying to be on the side on a bicycle. It's not a
Yeah,
good thing.
man. What's the old saying? You can't make the club
Club
in
in
the
the tub.
tub, you know?
Yeah,
And so, I think a lot of times there's talent, but availability is huge. And it's just May, I'll say that again,
of
but
course.
I do think that it's a trend. Like last year he missed the whole year due to injury. And he's coming off a trade where the Raiders gave up on him. Questions about whether he could be able to handle everything that comes with the NFL game. And a lot of that, it's your time to shut people up, to show people that I'm real. And he's made some posts on social media talking about quieting the noise. Well, you quiet the noise by producing on the field. And
Yeah,
so, I thought it was very telling that Mike McDaniel was open about that. We're just learning him, so we don't know what his policy will be like with injuries. We know with Flo, he would not say a word of it. So maybe Mike McDaniel will be more open. But I did find it telling that when asked about him, he focused on him not being on the field and his injuries. To
right.
me, that tells you a lot about, you're not doing a great job early on impressing your new head coach if the first thing he thinks about you is the dude can't stay on the field and we got to get him on the field to see what he can do. So he has a skill set to me that would fit with what Mike McDaniel wants to do. He's the versatile playmaker. He when we saw him in college, he was really good in the open field. You could use him as a running back, use him as a receiver, a lot of those different elements, but you got to be healthy. And so he's got to spend this time getting his hamstrings right. He's got probably about a month and a half between now and really close to 2 months between now and the start of training camp to figure out what it is to help those soft tissue injuries to get them right. Because I think he's got to have a great training camp to probably make this team.
Yeah,
You got to look at the reality of the situation. You got 4 guys who are locks on this roster: Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Cedric Wilson, the kid they drafted from Texas Tech, Eric. Those guys are 4, and you probably have 1 or 2 other spots.
no,
Preston Williams is,
and listen, you got it like I did.
yeah,
Like a lot of Dolph fans that thought, no, Lynn Bowden Jr. can be Debo Samuel. I'm like,
yep,
well, first of all, he's got to learn how to get on the field before he can even actually look at a picture of Debo Samuel, much less
right.
try to even, you know, play like him. I mean, give me a break, dude. It's like, yeah, that doesn't sound like a Debo Samuel type player that
No,
has
no,
constant
Debo,
hamstring
and,
injuries.
and and a lot of Debo that people forget is the toughness, the ability
Yes.
to be able to run into the tackles, the ability mentally and physically to learn multiple positions and do it well. One thing I learned about Debo that was cool in the season, he did not spend any time in the running back meeting room. He spent all his time in the receiver meeting room. All he did was once a week for an hour meet with the running back coach, and he told him essentially what his running back plays were going to be, and he still was arguably their most effective running back. So that's a guy who knows football enough to be able to pick up a running back, new position in an hour, a week, and be able to run 2 at the same time, at the same way of having the physical toughness to be able to do it, right? So I think people need to be very careful when they're comparing a lot of these dudes to Debo who don't have that element of Debo. So I think Lynn Bowden, and I'm very straightforward with this. His focus should be on making this team, not
Yeah.
on being the next Debo, not on producing and having a big role. You got to make this team because I think it's a very real situation that he could be a roster cut come around August if he's not healthy, if he's not performing. There's guys on this roster who they have specific roles for who I could see, making this team over him. So right now, I would probably say, given what he's dealing with injury wise, he's probably on the outside looking in, and he's got to prove that he's worthy of a roster spot.
Don't forget, folks, you can call the great people at KSDT CPAs, whether it's personal, whether it's business. They do all kinds of services. It's not just your taxes. They can also help you if you're trying to purchase a business, if you're trying to set up your will. There are so many different things that they can help you. Go to the website, ksdtcpas.com, and make sure you tell them that Big O sent you. All right, Noah Igbinoghene. And dude, I get all the people that are going to tell me, well, you're just making excuses. In my eyes, they are facts. They are the reality. And I think this kid has been treated unfairly by many in the media and fans. This is a kid that hasn't even played this position for a long time, has to learn how to play the position at the highest level, has barely played. The few times he played, he got roasted by one of the best route runners in the game in Stephon Diggs. And it's almost like that's kind of like the imprint of who he is, which is so unfair. And then he has 2 studs in front of him, and he's not really a slot guy. So again, that kind of hurts him because he can't develop by playing on the outside. He had a short press conference with you guys. What are you hearing behind the scenes? Because I don't know how he grows if he can't really get into games and actually play and have the experience and watch real receivers set him up from play to play and game to game or series to series. All the things that it takes for a corner to learn. Dude, I covered Pat Surtain as a kid, and his
Yep.
head was spinning his rookie
Right.
year. You know what I mean? But eventually he got the playing time to, grow and become the stud that he was. And so I just feel Noah's been completely, treated unfairly, and we don't really know what he is. Maybe he
Right.
won't be a good corner, and maybe he can be a great corner. But to pass any kind of judgment, that's the part I have a problem with. I really do.
So the issue that Noah faces is that he was a raw prospect coming out, right? And so he was a first round pick. I honestly don't think he should have been a first round pick, but that shouldn't be held against him. He was picked where he's picked. And so the first couple of years of his career were always going to be development based positions. So we saw him very limited early on in his career, and he got beat by Stephon Diggs, which everybody gets beat by Stephon Diggs when he was thrown into action. So we haven't seen a lot of positives out of him, but I don't think it's time to throw away the player yet. Now, that being said, this is a very important year 3 for him. And I think this offseason is very important because look at the reality of it. Byron Jones has been out for most of the offseason as he's dealing with his Achilles injury, not torn Achilles, but injured Achilles. So their idea is to have him back for training camp, but they may ease him in. So and you're also dealing with a player in Xavier Howard where he's proven what he is. You're not going to see him a lot in this stage of the offseason as far as on field doing a lot of workouts. So a lot of times Noah's going to be starting and doing a lot of these main reps. So this is really his time to get a lot of one-on-one action with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle throughout the OTAs and probably into training camp as well. And you're going to see joint practices. I imagine we're going to see a lot of Noah in joint practices against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're going to be able to face Mike.
That actually will be really good work for him.
You're gonna get to see Mike Evans. You're gonna have to see Chris Godwin. You're gonna have to see Russell Gage.
Are we going to see Godwin early?
Godwin actually might not be ready when he's coming off the ACL. I don't know what his timeline is. Good point. He may not be ready for that point. So you'll probably see a lot of Mike Evans and Russell Gage. And then you play Philadelphia the later on in the summer, and you get to see AJ Brown and you get to see Devontae Smith. Yeah. And so four different premium receivers that I'm going to be watching closely on him. And so even if we don't see him week 1 getting a lot of action, that's going to tell us a lot about where he is in his progression. Yes. And so I think this offseason, he's got to treat this as his season.
And the preseason itself, he should play a lot, actually.
Exactly.
Except for that final tune-up game where obviously he won't play the first couple quarters.
This will be his offseason. You got two, in their prime, kind of close to 30 corners. They're not going to see a lot of action this offseason. They're going to try to save their legs. And so Noah's going to be the guy.
I got something for you. Do we even know this? Is he a right corner or left corner? Can he play both?
So the only thing I know about him is they want him as an outside corner.
No, I know that exactly. Think about that. We don't even know what his strength is, right or left, or does he? Because there are those guys that can play either side, but really, as you know, you've covered this league. There are guys that are right corners, and there are guys that are left corners, bro. It's just the way it is.
Right. And so some of that we're learning. I think the big thing for Noah is Noah's got to get the reps because when you watch Noah, he's physical. He's got the athletic ability. I see why they wanted to bet on his traits. The thing that it seems like he lacks is he lacks some of the football instincts. He lacks the ability to know when the ball's coming at a certain time. And a lot of that comes with reps, right? So you don't want to be thrown into action in a premium game against a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen. That's your first time in reps. So I think that you're going to see a lot of this, what I talked about in that joint practices in preseason. And we're going to learn about him because I think there's two avenues. If he fails this offseason for whatever reason, then I could see him being a fresh start candidate where you trade him away for a late round pick or a guy who plays another position. We talked about that on another show. Maybe you watch Philadelphia and you go a bunch of practices and Noah struggles and you trade him for Jalen Reagor, the other Philadelphia corner receiver who struggled, and you make the swap there. Or he super impresses and you feel great about him and you say, okay, this is a guy that's ready to start in 2023, and he replaces a Byron Jones if you move on for him. Or, so those are scenarios that I think this offseason presents for them beyond just him being their number 4 corner, which should be his role throughout the year. So we'll learn a lot about him in the offseason, even if we don't see a lot of him in the season.
KSDT CPAs, folks, for valuation, for wealth management, property management, healthcare advisory, management advisory services, forensic accounting, and business valuation. They do it all. And when it comes to taxes, from estate and gift, family business, Form 990 and 990T filings, international taxation, payroll issue management, payroll sales, and use tax reporting. I mean, it goes on and on and on. They do all kinds of stuff. So please reach out to them, ksdtcpas.com. What'd you think last night of the Heaters? Because they did well in the first game, responding in that second half, but last night was all Boston, bro. It was ugly.
So I'm gonna be careful on not saying nothing too negative because he got my Sixers out the paint. So, I got to be relative. But I did think that it was alarming to see how badly the Heat got kind of exposed there. I will say they did get exposed in the Philly series in game 3 and 4, and then they came back and they had that fight and they won that series. So I think this is a team that can bounce back. I'm not burying in them yet, but I did think that having Al Horford in there made a big impact. Having Marcus Smart back made a big impact. Dude had 21, 11 assists. He was looking like a floor general. And we're starting to see a little bit of Jimmy maybe wearing down from taking on so many roles because, he's playing Kyle Lowry's role, having to play point guard, but also having to be the main guy as a distributor. He needs somebody else to step up. And I have not been impressed with Bam in this series. I think
Bam will never be that guy.
And we've talked about it, but he's a guy
with that shit.
But he's a guy that's supposed to be an all-star. He's got to be if he's going to be your
Tyler.
number 2 player.
It's got to be Tyler. Offensively, Tyler, bro. It has to be Tyler. If Tyler, they have to tell Tyler, unleash the Kraken kid.
And Tyler has some hot streaks, but he's inconsistent.
Right.
And so that's hard. It's hard to have an inconsistent number 2 guy, as we saw with Philly. They had an inconsistent 2 guy, and they're at home. And
my problem. My problem with the way the Heat handle the Tyler thing. They need to unleash the Kraken because what he is he's respecting Jimmy. He's respecting Lowry. He's respecting Bam. He's respecting PJ Tucker. Tyler Hero has to get that scowl that he developed in the bubble.
Right.
It needs to be unleashed, and the team has to tell him, Tyler, do your thing. Yeah. If you're open, take the shot. If you can create the shot. Do not wait for Jimmy Butler. Do not defer to Jimmy Butler. Take off. And I think if you tell Tyler finally, stop with this respecting stuff. Go. Unleash. Let's see if he can do it. But he's their in other words, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope. I don't know if you watch Star Wars, if you're a Star Wars guy. Yeah. But when Princess Leia says, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope, I think offensively, Tyler Hero, you're our only hope. He's the guy that has dog in him that he can do that kind of, and he can put it on the floor, and he can shoot, he can drive, he can create. That block yesterday, I'm telling you, it's in him. It's there. It's just, it needs to be unleashed.
You got to play it consistently, man. But they're at a very dangerous spot, man. PJ Tucker's now banged up. And he's such a huge part of what they do, toughness wise, defending wise, everything. So if they don't have PJ Tucker, that's very dangerous. Who's going to cover the guy?
Unlike the Panthers have to go to Tampa and win both games. Like that, they have no choice. They can't even split. That's the good thing for the Heat.
They can split.
Just has to go to Boston and split.
You get home court advantage again, and it's best of 3, which you got 2 at home.
Right.
So that's why I'm not panicking if they can win one.
Exactly.
But the problem was it was so ugly yesterday. They've got to make a big jump to get that one. And without PJ Tucker, it's going to be a lot harder. They're going to have to shoot, man. The problem that I think I found is that if they're not having PJ Tucker, then Boston's clearly going to be the better defensive team in the series. And
Yes.
so you're going to have to find a way to outshoot these guys. Boston outshot the Heat in the first half. They shot amazingly, really throughout the game, but particularly in that first half, they shot incredible, right? So they're going to come back down to earth. The Heat have had spells where they're one of the best shooting teams in the league. So whether that's playing more of Duncan along with Strus and some of these other guys who are really good shooters and sacrificing a little defense, they might have to switch up things overall on how they do philosophy-wise, especially if they have to have some time without PJ, because playing that grit ball without PJ, I think that's a losing battle against this Boston team. They've got a lot of really tough defenders, Marcus Smart, who won Defensive Player of the Year, Robert Williams, who's a really good player, Al Horford, Jason Tatum, their whole roster is two-way players. And so you get in that position, the only way to combat that is to outshoot those type guys. So very important game 3 and 4. I'm with you. I think they just have to win one of those games. But it's gonna be difficult. This is gonna be a harder series for them than maybe even they anticipated.
One more thing before I let you go to get off the beaten path a little bit here. Is there did Nick Saban do about the dumbest thing that he could have ever done? Right? I mean, when you live in a glass house,
yep.
How are you gonna be throwing crack pipes out of it? I mean, what's wrong with you, dude?
The funniest thing I've
had
heard about
every
this.
advantage. The pathetic part, by the way, was you're going after Jackson State for getting one guy. You get 10 of those guys every year. That's why you win all these national titles. And you're going to worry about Deion Sanders getting one little guy, just one guy. You know what I'm saying? And when you live in that kind of house, like no one in the SEC, if you're LSU, if you're Alabama, if you're Georgia, if you're like Ryan Day at Ohio State is smart enough to I'm not going to be complaining about this. Whatever, I'm Ohio State. I've had every advantage in the book.
Yep.
Saban just brought upon him the biggest investigation by all kinds of people now. He just opened up the door to throw Alabama completely under the bus. I don't think he realizes what he did yesterday.
And the crazy part is like you said, the throwing stones in a glass house. A lot of people know Alabama has been giving these players benefits for a long time.
Come on, man.
Whether you're giving players paper bag money versus giving them NIL, it's so this is not something that that I think that you're holier than thou. And you, like you said, you're calling out Deion Sanders, you're calling out an HBCU because they got a prospect that you didn't get. It just feels like, to me, and I don't know if this is true, it feels like he's almost complaining that his guys are not able to or not willing to pay their players in the method that A&M is.
Well, hey, I mentioned this yesterday on the show. I said, folks, I want you to think about this now. Okay? Mr. Ruiz is willing to sign all kinds of young people, Gators, Seminoles, not just Canes.
Right.
FIU, FAU, to represent Life Wallet.
Right.
I'm just saying, well, all of these boosters were happy giving paper bags and dropping off bags of money in the middle of the night. Well, how come they don't want these faces representing their companies?
Yeah.
I wonder. I mean, if they're good enough to play for your program, if they're good enough for you to, slide some money under the table or give somebody some, backdoor job somewhere, well, how come they're not good enough to represent and be faces of your program, of your business? I wonder. What kind of a signal does that send now? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, I give Ruiz credit. And by the way, everything he's done is on the up and up.
Yep.
Everything he does, he goes through compliance. He does everything the right way. So what's there to complain? For Saban to complain about the advantages he has had forever. That's why when Jimbo went after him, man, I mean, I got no reason to root for Texas A&M, but I am rooting for Jimbo Fisher now.
Yeah, man, and I'm a big pay-to-players guy, and it's very there's a big irony in a coach that's getting paid $10+ million, complaining about athletes getting paid and players and teams paying. I don't care about the logistics of it. I don't care if the coach knows or he doesn't know. None of that's important to me. What's important is that the players are getting a percentage cut of what the coaches and the boosters and all these programs are being able to make money wise off this success. And so, the complaining to me about this just kind of, hits on deaf ears. You adjust or you get out of it.
Yeah. I'm just going to be tripping out with the amount of investigations that are coming his way. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right, follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. Catch his work there at the NFL Network, and of course, catch him doing his thing here a couple times a week with our KSDT CPA, Miami Dolphins, and NFL and NBA report. There you go, Cam. You're all over.
Everywhere,
you,
right?
brother. Appreciate
all right, Big
you.
O. All right, appreciate you, man.
There you go. Cameron Wolfe.